Hello and welcome to season 2 of Always with Awareness, and I'm Awa Loudmouth.
And I'm Douglas Lodmell. And today we want to talk about our triggers. Things that make us upset or angry or anxious or mad or sad. Anything that triggers you. So that's what we call it, triggers. I think that's a pretty standard terminology nowadays. This came up because we have a niece and something happened the other night and she got triggered.
That's right.
And so we saw it and we're like, oh, opportunity, yay. And then she got more triggered because of the opportunity was not something she was ready for. And so that just made us realize that this is a topic that's really important to discuss, is our triggers, and the fact that they are opportunities. They are not something to run away from. So why don't you just, give me your insight into, the 101 of triggers.
Well, I guess that's one that we all share.
Yeah.
There's no human beings on earth that have never been triggered by something. But what does that mean? What does it say? What's behind it? Definitely some emotions,
Yeah.
right? We always share here that there is two emotions, love or fear, which fear is another way of saying love. But the way I explained it to our niece is that most of the time, all that us human learned, we learned it through our fears.
Yeah.
And fear being something beautiful. What is it to be fearing something? In that moment where the fear hits, you are totally awake and aware. All your senses are working. So, which is very rare to stay there all the time. So it's almost like fear is coming to move you to that space. But what is that space meant to do is to make you question. Mm-hmm. Question who? Question yourself. Because that's the only person here is you. Mm-hmm. So throughout my work of growth, I had to work on my triggers a lot of times. Mm-hmm. It's so funny because even that niece that we mentioned said, I've been praying over and over to ask God to show me the way. And I guess this is his way of showing me the way. And I laugh because that is true.
Well, that's how the universe speaks to us, is
exactly.
through other people, right? I guess Moses probably had a direct, here you go. But for the rest of us, we usually don't get direct revelation from God. We get communication with other people, or we get signs and things. And often our triggers are exactly the doorway to those important communications. The things that trigger us, the things that make us upset, because those are the things that we need to resolve. If you look at life as this navigating a pathway of a maze, I can tell you that you open the doors by finding out what the trigger's root cause is and resolving it. And then the door just dissolves and now you can go to the next layer of the maze. That's all we're really doing here. We're not really doing anything else. I mean, we think we're doing other stuff. We think we're building a business and we're getting stuff and we're, living a life and we're raising kids and we think we're doing all these things.
That's right.
But when you die, you will have none of those things. They were all going to be left here. You will keep the things that you've resolved. You will keep the peace that you find at the end of those triggers.
That's right.
And so that's the point for us. That's the point of the spiritual path inside of the secular life, is to realize that yes, we're in life, and yes, I still got to go to work tomorrow, and yes, we still have to pay the bills, and yes, we have, plans for a vacation, and all that stuff can be true and still not really be important, not really be the point of it. And And the point of it is when the trigger comes, that's the point. It's almost like, ooh, stop.
Yes.
And let's focus on nothing but this, because this is our greatest opportunity right now. Something has come up and we get this chance to resolve it.
That's right.
And frankly, too many of us are missing that too often. And it's making life more difficult if you miss it. So this show is really just to say, don't miss the opportunity. Don't miss the chance to dig into that trigger and figure out what's going on.
Definitely don't make it about what triggered you,
Right.
because it's telling you to reconsider. It's telling you there is work to be done. It's telling you it's time to listen. It's time to reconnect. And it's beautiful. I find myself, when I'm triggered, more celebrating than being mad. Because this ego wants to, which is just the intellect, wants you to be right. And a life where you are the only one right and everybody else is stupid, I don't think it's a life worth living. So when you are triggered, it's time to really revisit, what am I not hearing right now? What am I resisting right now? You know? And we are in the culture where when we triggered, we run away. Because, we just fight or fly. But if you do not do any of those two, maybe there is gold for you, a lesson for you, an opportunity to connect with whoever is triggering you.
Yeah, and to figure out what that belief is inside that caused the trigger in the first place. I can tell you it's never the person or the thing or the situation. Just never. Never. I got triggered the other day at one of my dogs. But I can tell you it wasn't her. It was another dog who did something that I was angry at, and it was the other dog that got my trigger. I mean, it was just like, it was so direct, and I'm like, oh my God, because we all working on this. There's no pass.
Right.
And sometimes we work so much and we think, oh, we're beyond that, and then we'll get triggered by something childish. And just know that it's still real for you. It's still something you're working on. It's still something that you have to work through.
And then it's so funny that you're sharing a dog. Careful dog lovers there, right?
Well, dog lovers get triggered by their dogs too.
You know. So just to tell you, let's say a dog, I mean, really, doesn't even have the level of consciousness that the human have.
Oh, the dog lovers might disagree here.
I bet you. So for us human to let ourselves be angry for so many things, and again, it's natural. It's just a moment in life. If you are a parent and you have more than one child, you know that the way you raise the first one is totally different the way you raise the second, the third, the fourth. And the more you go, the older you get, you see that a lot of things that you were so animate about it are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing this time is fleeing, and all you want to do is connect with your kids. So it's the same. Time is fleeing for all of us. It's not the watch kicking, it's our life ticking away.
Yeah.
And so ask yourself, is what I'm feeling right now in 10 years gonna matter, really?
Right.
Would it matter in 10 years? Let's say, I know we were talking about politics earlier. All right, your president win or didn't win in 10 years. Why would it matter?
In 20 years, if 10 is too short for you, you think it matters.
20.
In 50 years.
How about 50?
Yeah.
Would it matter? But what matters is right now, what your behavior, your thoughts, your beliefs had done to you and to others. Others being your brothers, your sisters, humankind, whatever, and yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself. So this thing about trigger, I think is the most beautiful gift of life. It's a moment to really realize there's work to be done.
Well, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the politics, because I think that's an interesting trigger. That's something we can all relate to. We just had a very contentious election for president. And there's a lot of people right now who continue to be really triggered, really triggered. And so for them, they are focused on the content of the trigger. They're looking at it and say, but this is what's happening and it's bad because this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen and it's going to affect this, and they've got it all mapped out as to their fears of what's going to happen.
Yes.
Now, it may happen, may not happen. I mean, who knows? But they are living in the fear of it happening right now. They're living in that. And on top of it, most of them are listening to other people who are triggered with those same fears, and they're kind of riling them up. They're not going, hey, let's relax. Let's look at it. Let's look at the good side. I'm listening to podcasts. Nobody's saying, let's look at the good side. They're all saying, this is an unmitigated disaster. This is the crisis. This is the end of America. All of these things. And it's very hard for them to even see the silver lining. So for them, where should they put their focus, or how can they address this if they find themselves in that boiled up state where they're just daily angry over this big scale thing that they can't seem to shake?
Well, it's just a question to ask ourselves is, if I am right with my beliefs that this worst thing is going to happen, believing it, what does that do for me? It's that simple. I mean, if your mind is telling you already that the worst is going to happen in your mind, and you can't do anything about it, by the way, you are just sitting with the poison of what is going to happen that you're not sure at all is going to happen. Don't you wish you're wrong? I would wish I'm wrong.
Well, that's the irony, is that most of them don't wish they're wrong because they want to be right so bad.
No.
That they want to be proven right, which would be the worst thing that could happen for them. Right.
Exactly. I mean, I wish I am wrong most of the time. Why? Because let's say I am right, the hell is coming to me.
Right.
We have a saying in Wolof, if I can still remember that, is "Ay duyem si boppu borom," meaning hell doesn't end with you. Like whatever the hell you start stirring up, thinking is going the other way, it's going to end up coming to you.
Right.
So if I'm having hell thoughts about the president, I'm going to start praying for him that hell never happened. Why? Because the hell of the president is the hell of the population. The hell of the population is the hell of my neighbor, and the hell of my neighbor is definitely my hell.
Well, and this is all based on this presumption that we actually know what's right and what's true. So, the Course in Miracles makes a statement that's so funny to me. It said, if for you to make a judgment, you would have to know all the facts.
That's right.
From all the perspectives, from all the time frames. It's not possible. No. We don't have all the facts, we don't have all the perspectives, and we don't have all the time frames from the past, the now, and the ultimate future. We have none of that. We have a very tiny little sliver of one perception from one time frame right now, right? That's and right. We want to make a judgment and says this is right and this is wrong. We just can't do it. And to think that we can, to think that we know what's right and we know what's wrong is hubris. It's literally completely egotistical to think that we know what's right and wrong. And so right now, what we're seeing is half the population knows this is right, and the other half knows this is right, and they're fighting, and they're using this metric of truth that they think they have access to separate themselves. And instead, we have the opportunity to do something different, which is to disregard this metric of truth because we don't know what it is. You just don't know what it is. You cannot tell me the truth with a capital T. You just can't. You can tell me your belief. You can tell me your understanding. You can give me a full analysis of why you think it's the truth, but you cannot tell me for sure with a capital T that something is true.
That's right.
But what you can do is you can approach me with love. You can post something on Facebook that connects you to me, that makes you feel good. You can think about that as the metric by which you want to measure your life, not the metric of is it true? Because I can tell you these beliefs of I've got the truth and you've got the truth, you don't have the truth, but my little group has the truth. It's just going to separate us more and more and more, and it's going to lead to hell.
Yeah, and this work that we're doing, this sharing that we're doing, that work is not going to happen at the same time for all of us, but it definitely can happen for every one of us who is ready. Yeah. And the more of us there is ready to use their triggers to connect, feel empathy, ask more questions, and let go of the belief that is making you disconnected within your own self, the more people like that, the more we'll find solution that will work for humankind. Because you have to know, life doesn't care about us. Life was here before us, will be here after us,
Yeah.
you know. But what we should be caring is how we left life, every one of us. Mm-hmm. What did life do for us and what it will leave behind? And for that to happen, we have to really create space between us, our beliefs, and use our triggers to see what's the next work for us. Mm-hmm. And those triggers, any trigger, is just standing at the edge. And if you look at it, there is nothing you learn to do in life without being triggered at first. Mm-hmm. By fear, which is the most beautiful one. That's what made you learn how to drive a car the first time. You can remember how fearful you were, that it was never going to happen, and yet it happened. Flying, airplanes, a new language, whatever it is. So once you know who you are, that you can stand with your fears, and your fears are making you more alive. They're not here to separate you or to win a battle. If any battle, is the battle of breathing through your fear.
Yeah.
And see what's next. What are you hiding? What are you not wanting to hear? What are you not wanting to see? Because there is no truth, capital true. But one thing is for sure real, that two people coming from opposite beliefs can find a way to create together something beyond their little selves.
Yeah.
And that's how we all got here. Because somebody had believed in something bigger than them for us to rejoice. So for anybody who their president lost or won, watch that ego that makes you want to use your joy to wish the other one hell, or your disappointment to wish the other one hell. It's just not worth it. And I'm sure most of us are like, oh, well, no, that's not what it is. You have to stand for something. What does that mean to stand for something? Stand for something to do what with it? Mm-hmm. You know, for to do what? As we have to be careful when we give entity things that don't exist. It's like saying the church. There is no church. There's only us. The church on Sunday is there because we are there. There is no government. It's us. We are the government at the end of the day. And to dial it down where you choose yourself to represent what you would like to see out there, instead of falling into your fears and your anxiety and to create more hell for yourself and for your loved ones.
Well, you just said something really important, which was you want to stand for something, right? Everybody feels like it. And so what people are saying is, no, I'm not going to let this go. I'm standing for the right to an abortion, or I'm standing for right to bear arms, or I'm standing for all of these things. How about standing for connection? How about standing for love? Those things are things. They're going to fade and go. Those rights, those things that you're standing for, I'm not saying they don't matter. They do matter. But in the context of, if that's what you're standing for, and you're going to use disconnection to do it, you're going to use hate to do it, you're going to use right and wrong to do it, then you're really not standing for love. You're not standing for connection. I'm saying stand for love and connection first, then stand for those things inside the context of that.
That's right.
Don't stand for those things and use any means necessary. I'm going to use anything it takes. Hate, love, war, guns, arms, doesn't matter. I'm standing for those things. You're missing the point. The point is love. The point is standing for connection between us. If the Course in Miracles is correct, we're just one. There's only one of us. There's one of us. There's one Son of God, child of God. And we are all just perspectives of that one. Buckminster Fuller said it. How insane are we? We are on the most advanced, beautiful spaceship that we could imagine. This is just a spaceship. We're literally in a spaceship hurtling through the universe, like Star Trek, with our self-contained spaceship, and we've got Deck 5 declaring war on Deck 3, and we're trying to kill each other on our own ship. We're missing the point. The point is love. The point is connection. That's all there is. You can stand for those other things only after you've stood first for love. And if you miss that, well, you're just going to be stuck in those triggers, and you're going to miss all of it, and you're going to keep building your walls higher and more fortified instead of dissolving them down and opening them up. At the end of the day, if we're all standing in our own little maze, our goal is to dissolve all the walls so we're all standing together. But if we keep building our walls stronger, then we're just isolating ourselves. And in the end, we end up in our own little prison inside of this beautiful spaceship. And I don't think that's very fun. That's not my goal.
And you know, you have to know that every thoughts create matters. And when you have those kind of thoughts that are not inclusive, you are part of the problem. You don't need to be the president or some kind of title out there to be part of the problem of this universe. Just your thought process and how angry you are and how judgmental you are feeding that energy for all of us. Because when we say we are one, it's the process of thinking and moving to consciousness is the same for every one of us. That's the oneness. Yeah, we don't share the same bodies, but the process of thinking is the same. And everything around you was created because somebody thought of it. So we know that this mic, somebody thought of it. This chair, somebody thought of it. This being that I said, called Awa, somebody thought of it. My parents thought of it, then they made love, and here I am. But just to say, when you're having those thoughts that are really, really, really weighing on you, making you your body so acidic, just know you are indirectly or directly adding to the problem.
Yeah.
That's how subtle this work is. Why? Because you can see yourself, how it's making you not capable. It takes off your capacity to do something bigger than your little self. I was sharing with my son how important it is to tell the truth. And I said, those little practice to stay with the fear of, oh my God, it's my mom asking me, but yet, which I tell them, with a gun on your head, always tell the truth. I said, what you're practicing is that one day something big happened, you're going to stand. You already have enough practice in your mind to stand for the truth. So it's the same. When you're not practicing letting go of your fears so that you can listen to somebody, so that you can see what you have together, the connection you have together, that at the same time, maybe at the same time you're talking about the same thing, but he or she's coming at it at a different level. When you're not training yourself over and over and over again, when you will need it the most, you won't find that mind there for you. How do we know? It's unfortunate one of our friends got hit and run. And everybody is sharing how, oh my God, how can you just hit somebody and run? Well, I can tell you how. Fear. When you never practice staying with your fears and going beyond it, you're just an animal. Fight or flight. And in that moment, that car driver is the fly. He just flee. Why? Never practice. It's good, being with horses. I think that's what definitely horses have taught me, is that you have to imagine the worst at any given time.
Or live it.
Almost the worst, and see how you would, in that moment, react to the point of how you will decide to fall. That means you have to slow down your mind to see every step and to say, in every step, I'm not going to lose myself. I will be there. But it takes practice. And this episode about trigger is to invite you to really practice what's the worst that can happen to humanity. What, even with you being right and the world going down to hell because your president didn't win, do you really want it? Do you want that hell? Because believe me, it's coming at you.
Well, you're living it. Even if it's not happening, you're living in it.
You're living it.
We're creating that reality by believing it or thinking about it and imagining it and talking about it and encouraging it and going down the rabbit hole of this is what's going to happen.
I mean, going to bed, going to all the news that can feed your fire more to be angry so that tomorrow you can answer somebody else on Facebook about something they talked about 2 months ago. It's like, come on, guys.
Well, when you're posting on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, just ask yourself, is this going to connect me to those people that are on my feed, or is it going to disconnect me? Well, if your feed is only full of the people that think exactly like you are and you're posting those things that connect you, then great. You've narrowed your feed down to a tiny little group. But what about the people that aren't there? What about the people that you know, that you work with, that are your friends or your family, that are not on your feed because they don't have your political beliefs? What could you post that would connect you to them or reconnect you to them? What could you not post because it's just inflammatory?
Yeah.
You know it's going to trigger half the people. And again, I want to reiterate this. You don't know that it's true. You just believe that it's true. You have a belief, but you cannot know it's true. You just can't know. You don't have the information. You don't have the crystal ball. You don't have omnipotence. You just don't know. And you don't know, even if it happens to be true, the result it's going to create is going to be the one that you think it's going to create.
That's right.
Because you don't know. And so, this arrogance of thinking that we know the truth and that we know exactly what's going to happen. If this happens, then this is going to happen, and that it's going to be bad. It's just arrogance. That's all it is. It's just straight up arrogance from the ego. And that's how we know the ego is driving the train. So back up, acknowledge that you don't know the truth, and redecide, what is it that I do want to use as my benchmark? Well, I want to use love. I want to use connection. I want to use how will this interaction connect me with this person more, not make me right. And I can tell you, I have lots of people on both sides of the political aisle, lots of clients on both sides of the political aisle. I am always focusing on connecting with them and finding common ground in which we can be connected, and never about how we can be disconnected and I can be right because they make a comment that I think is not correct.
Absolutely. So again, this is an invitation to look at your triggers. It's going to happen. I guess the more you practice, the less you have them. But it's not to live a life without triggers. They will always be there.
Always.
But you would create enough space within yourself where actually when those triggers come, it's time for a lesson for you of growth, or it's a past lesson that you get to be the teacher for whoever is there that is triggering you. But that's my intake about triggers. And again, it's not like we can talk about this in one episode. It's a lifetime work. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the work forever. So I'm sure we'll talk about it more and more.
Yes.
But hopefully this is helpful for you in the context of this political trigger that everybody's living in. And please comment. Let us know what you think about this. Even if you're triggered, you want to do a triggering comment, that's okay too. We accept.
Triggers are celebrated here.
Yeah, we celebrate triggers. We're like, woo! All right, we got something.
Somebody's alive.
We're just going to talk about it. If you send us a triggering comment, we're probably going to talk about it.
Well, it's the moment of liveliness.
Mm-hmm.
When you're triggered, tell me when is the moment that is more lively than when you're angry or think you're right or need to defend yourself, or your senses are up.
Yeah.
You're fired, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's time to celebrate, time to let go of the fear, celebrate whatever is there, and reconnect.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So, well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
See you.